Today, the Age of Ultron begins.
Hello Rivals fans and welcome back to the Rivals Report, the show that gets you up to speed on Rivals Esports news in a nice, bite-sized package. My name is Diatonic and this is the Rivals Report number 9 for the week of July 28th, 2025. On this week's report, our pre-China coverage continues with a look at the teams representing the EMEA region and some info from the most mysterious region in Rivals Esports. We've got a recap of the first days of competition for one of Rivals' hottest community leagues, as well as the conclusion of the Collegiate Rivals Series Summer Split Playoffs. Let's kick things off with our next entry in our comprehensive pre-China coverage, where we're looking to bring you profiles on every single team competing in the upcoming first ever Marvel Rivals LAN tournament. This week, we're talking about the region that many consider to be the most competitive thus far, EMEA. Let's start with the Stage 1 EMEA runners-up, RAD Esports. RAD's EU division officially made their entrance to competition back in June, when the org acquired the team once known as Team 1. Team 1 initially qualified for Ignite by defeating Ex Oblivion, the team that would eventually become the Season 2 MRC champions. Shortly after receiving their invite to Stage 1, they'd be acquired by RAD on June 7th and head into Ignite sporting the org's colors. RAD easily climbed their way out of the group stage, only dropping a match to fellow EMEA powerhouse Virtus Pro in the group stage finals. Virtus Pro was the favorite to win the entire tournament, and the Rivals world was shocked that RAD was able to defeat the once invincible squad just a week prior. They'd go through playoffs almost entirely unchecked, making it into the grand finals on the upper side of the bracket. There, they'd unfortunately meet their match in a brutal battle against Berber Patapim, but their efforts earned them an invite to mid-season finals in China. That means that since they're signing with RAD, this team has only been beaten by Virtus Pro and Berber Patapim. RAD uses a blend of bold ban strategies and unique plays in-game to help propel them to some seriously vicious victories. They take advantage of the advanced pick and ban system to aggressively chase after strategist bans and ensure their own strategist players' Fate and level 1 Crook can keep the team sustained from the backline. Their DPS line doesn't necessarily opt for hit-scan characters every time either. Melio and Naga have both shown their stuff on heroes like Psylocke and Namor in the past, and they've even defaulted to the atomic fastball team-up between Hulk and Wolverine on numerous occasions. They have a strong eye for team building, especially when it comes to leveraging team-ups. Even after Ignite, RAD has been in the news recently, making their mark in the Rivals EMEA Cup by going entirely undefeated without dropping a single map as well. They've always been a force to be reckoned with, but one pain point for them so far has been the EMEA Stage 1 champs, Berber Patapim. These two teams are currently tied at 1 win apiece against each other, and both sides are looking to settle the score in Guangzhou. But RAD's rivals will be undergoing a bit of a facelift before their arrival in China. The team formerly known as Berber Patapim, and even before that formerly known as OG, have officially signed with Citadel Gaming, making them Citadel EU. We'll be referring to them as such going forward, but the name change doesn't erase the legacy of excellence that trails behind the former Berber Patapim. Before RAD managed to take down the VP powerhouse, Citadel were the first to take a map off them, leaving a scratch on the team once viewed as completely untouchable. From there, they bested Blood Karyudo in the Ignite Open qualifiers to get their invite to Stage 1. Citadel passed through the group stage fairly easily as well, being bested only by Zero Tenacity in the group stage finals. Their path through playoffs was absolutely brutal, being forced to play against Virtus Pro not just once, but 2 separate times, but they rose to the occasion in each instance. They'd get their shot at revenge against RAD in the grand finals after falling victim to that team in the upper bracket finals. It was a contested bout to be sure, but after pulling ahead early, they had just enough cushion to stop a brewing reverse sweep and were crowned the Ignite Stage 1 EMEA champs. After those finals, Citadel's shot caller Tanuki had this to say about his team.
I don't know, we're the best team in the world right now. I think with confidence, when we play like this, we're genuinely the best team in the world.
Citadel is a team known for their mental fortitude, usually not shaken by the stakes of a match or a big loss in the middle of a series. They combine expert execution with flexible draft strategies to create an overall offensive that's tough to nail down. They usually fall somewhere between a dive and a poke comp, opting for a rogues gallery of heroes like Cap, Magneto, Punisher, Rocket, Invisible Woman, and usually someone like Human Torch or Wolverine. Depending on the map, they're liable to hang back and poke you to death, or go full brawler and deliver devastating blows up close. Getting a download on this team is tough enough for their EMEA counterparts that they've played endlessly against, but how will the rest of the world stack up to this scrappy bunch of champions? EMEA is a tough customer among all the regions of Rivals Esports, but an international tournament like the mid-season finals brings with it loads of uncertainty and the element of surprise. And no team exemplifies the element of surprise more than those from China. China has been the most mysterious region since the beginning of Ignite, with their broadcast taking place on Chinese streaming platform Bilibili and very little reporting coming out of the region. But we've done our homework, dug deep for every bit of info we could find, and we're here to introduce the two mid-season qualifiers from China, Over Ultra G and Nova Esports. Starting with the Stage 1 runners-up, Nova Esports is an org hailing from Hong Kong. Their core has been playing together since at least January, when they first arrived on the scene all the way back in Season 0 and clocked a top 6 finish in the China MRC. They were subsequently invited to the China branch of the Marvel Rivals Invitational and have been chasing after hardware ever since. They went through a fairly large roster change just before Ignite, picking up players from the Season 0 MRC runner-up squad UWU FPS. Nova also won the inaugural Rivals Fight Night China, where they defeated OUG in a 3-2 duel. Nova took down all challengers throughout the group stage, dropping only a single map to eHome along the way. They made their journey through playoffs look like a leisurely stroll through Central Park, dropping no maps until the upper bracket finals, where they crossed paths with an even stronger looking OUG, who they couldn't get a single map from. Nova Esports made a triumphant lower bracket run where they'd mop up Taiyun Gaming in the finals and earn their run-back opportunity against OUG. Nova had picked up on several of OUG's tricks by the time the rematch at Grand Finals rolled around, and they were ready to lay it all on the line for the championship. After a couple of hard losses on the first two maps, Nova was able to turn the tide and push OUG to a highly contested map 6. Nova would end up losing this encounter, but OUG's victory wasn't particularly decisive. Nova adapted well after losing the first two maps. They managed to turn the momentum back in their favor, and even seemed to have OUG's number up until Hetlot's fateful play. So there are many questions still remaining about this team, but for now the budding rivalry between these two China qualifiers remains to be solved. Nova could be a dark horse that disrupts people's tier lists in this tournament. They've consistently placed top 3 in Chinese events, and as previously mentioned, Nova has beaten OUG before. They've taken maps off the champions in almost every single match they've had together. Not to mention Nova's penchant for very strategic, targeted bans, which could be a problem for many regions in this competition. Nova's performance wasn't enough to clinch the crown in China's Stage 1, at least not yet. Because while Nova is a fearsome foe and likely unfazed by their defeat, the current top threat in the China region has to be OUG. OUG is a stable team with 0 roster changes since March of 2025, and objectively the most consistent team in China in terms of performance. They've been a thorn in Nova Esports and several other teams' sides since they came on the scene at the Marvel Rivals Invitational, taking down eHome with a 4-0 sweep and winning the whole thing in their first outing as a team. Their domination continued into the Season 1 MRC, where they'd take down Taiyun Gaming to win that event as well. OUG's record coming out of the group stage mirrored that of Nova's. No match losses and only a single map dropped the entire time, only to Taiyun. But their playoff bracket run was even more flawless, making it all the way to Grand Finals without dropping a single map, not even to Nova in their upper bracket finals encounter. They came out of the gate swinging against Nova in the Grand Finals rematch, though they faltered on a couple of maps. But OUG have showed they have quite the clutch factor. Between Vanguard Hetlot, who landed 2 championship-making ultimates back-to-back, or fans swooning "the sky belongs to Molan Ran," as his Human Torch and Wolverine plays also helped lead the team to this stunning victory. OUG, and Nova to a lesser extent, love utilizing traditional meta comps with some unconventional picks sprinkled in to keep their enemies on their toes. Furthermore, teams in this region have been known to switch heroes more often in response to in-game momentum shifts, which can test opponents' counter strategies. OUG loves to pull out triple duelist comps and very heavily take into account map and mode when building their strategy in the ban phase. They don't rest on their laurels or rely on comfort hero picks. They like to employ every counter they can think of to take teams down. It's a very cerebral way of playing the game that can come with a lot of pressure, but makes it incredibly difficult to figure out what they'll do next. We've only got 3 teams left to cover in our pre-China reporting, the NA powerhouse trifecta of Envy, 100 Thieves, and Sentinels. These 3 have more classic matches between them than I have fingers, and if you want to know more, be sure to subscribe and look for next week's Rivals Report when we take a deeper dive into those 3 teams. Next up, a big community league gets even bigger as the Rivals Ascension League kicks off its 2nd season, featuring an EMEA branch and a Latin American one to come later as well. I was in the booth with Zeus for the inaugural EMEA matches, and even from the very first day of these competitions, these teams were showing no mercy. EMEA MRC Season 2 champs Ex Oblivion kicked things off against Think twice in the first ever Ascension EMEA match, and it was an absolute banger from start to finish. Both of these teams have quite a bit of competitive experience, making their mark in the MRC as well as other community tournaments. They brought that experience to bear in this matchup that took all 3 maps to decide. Map 1 was Yggdrasil Path, and Ex Oblivion started things off with a huge defensive lockdown against T2, holding them to no checkpoints secured and wrapping things up in an under 7-minute game overall. Etsu from Oblivion was the hero for map number 1, clocking a pentakill and 16 final hits in total. It was everything you'd expect to see from an MRC champion caliber team, deadly execution from frame 1. But Think Twice weren't going down without a fight. Hell's Heaven was the stage for map 2, and for Think Twice to start turning the ship around and getting things going their way. T2's We Rise was instrumental in turning the tides, with a massive Kraken impact in the middle of the match that they smartly sustained by using the enemy's Loki clones. They had to play out all 3 points to pull it off, but Think Twice clapped back and pushed EXO to the edge, and to a map 3 in the first series of the broadcast. Spider Islands for map number 3, and EXO once again stopped Think Twice from reaching any checkpoints, choking them out with a triple Vanguard, triple strategist turtle comp on defense. They used up 3 minutes and 30 seconds of EXO's time bank after halftime, but after losing a big team fight near the end, EXO were able to ace T2, and that put the final nail in the coffin that would get Ex-Oblivion started with a 1-0 record in the Ascension League. There was plenty more Ascension action all weekend for both NA and EMEA. Ex-Oblivion would go on to a 2-0 record after this weekend, and the same is true for Dawn Core as well. Ascended and Ignite Stage 1 competitor Insomnia both only had 1 match this weekend, but both teams won those. Think Twice and Planet Signage both took a loss in the first match of the Ascension League, and Groot FN and PCS Jeong both fell to an 0-2 record after the first week of preliminaries. So it'll be EXO and Dawn Core leading the charge as the first season of EMEA Ascension competition rolls on. Over on the NA side of the aisle, newcomer team Busy at Work were the first to clock 2 victories in their campaign, even defeating America's MRC Season 2 champs Noir in an upset on Sunday. But Noir managed to take down the Atlanta Phoenix Guard on Saturday, leaving them with a respectable 1-1 record so far. Calamity joined Noir in a similar record, falling victim to Busy at Work, but defeating Ultralight later in the same night. Ascension Season 1 runners-up UKN Necospresso battled Double Tap on Saturday in a battle that ended in a draw, to be decided tonight as the uploading of this video. Project Blue Lock and Tricksters GG both won their first matches, while Aeronite falls to an 0-2 record. There's still another full weekend of Ascension League prelims coming this Saturday and Sunday, before we move into a single elimination playoff bracket for the final week of action. Not to mention that once the NA and EMEA tournaments wrap up on August 10th, the Latin American tournament will be gearing up for their kickoff on August 16th. We'll be bringing you even more coverage of the Ascension League as it progresses, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for the next edition of the Rivals Report, releasing every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern. And finally this week, the Collegiate Rivals Series concluded its summer league with an explosive grand finals over the weekend. 10 college teams from across the country entered the fray, but over the course of several weeks, 10 turned into 2, and the battle to win the tournament was fought between Cal State Poly's Infinite and the Florida International University Panthers. I was in the booth for this matchup as well, and the war these two teams put on absolutely blew me away. Cal State Poly, or CPP for short, entered the grand finals from the upper bracket side, blazing a path of perfection through that upper bracket as they didn't drop a single map to any team. The FIU Panthers, on the other hand, were sent down to the lower bracket early, where they too delivered devastation to every team that crossed their path, dropping only 2 maps to Matador's Black in the lower bracket semifinals. The stage was set, but the deck was stacked against FIU from the very start, as CPP Infinite were given a 1-0 advantage for winning the upper bracket side of the tournament. It was looking grim for FIU out of the gate, with CPP clocking a dominant performance on Spider Islands for map number 1. CPP's Cloak Cloud rocked the Hawkeye in this match, being one of the anchors for the team, along with Spexy on Iron Fist. Certainly 2 unconventional DPS heroes in Season 3, but they made it look graceful in that win. Trailing 2-0 now, but FIU were looking to turn the tides of battle in their favor. On Yggdrasil Path, the Panthers locked in a surprising first ban against Hawkeye, forcing Cloak Cloud to look for a different duelist, and they'd continue to ban Hawkeye every single map for the rest of the set. They'd clear Yggdrasil Path with more than 4 minutes still on the clock, and this would signal the start of a huge map win streak for the FIU Panthers going forward. FIU's Liquid Ox rocked a combination of Wolverine and Iron Fist throughout the series, and Oleg kept CPP on their toes with a wide range of duelist picks. FIU dominated on Yggdrasil Path and kept the carnage going on Symbiotic Surface for map 3, where they cleared the map yet again. It was too much for CPP Infinite to handle, and in practically the blink of an eye, FIU had the series all tied up. CPP would try their luck with some domination, as Hell's Heaven was the pick for map 4, and they certainly gave FIU a run for their money there. It would take all 3 points, but in an absolute bloodbath at the end, the Panthers would make it 3 in a row after winning a 99-99 overtime on that 3rd and final point. CPP would clap back on Hall of Dajalia though, evening out the score and sending us to the final map of the series after they locked in a serious defensive effort. The final stage was set with Midtown giving us the last showdown between these two teams. This final map was an absolute war, with CPP locking in a solid defense, managing to grind the Panthers' offense to a halt and stopping them at a single checkpoint once again. Switching sides, it was an absolutely brutal fight as CPP Infinite started running out of time just before the first checkpoint on the map. Cloud made a miracle touch at the last second to kick off the overtime, and that opened up a brutal fight that would let the FIU Panthers shine in one last effort to clinch the tournament. At the most critical moment, it all fell apart for CPP, and the FIU Panthers would score a critical ace, ending overtime and ending CPP's run in this tournament. Spexy follows him to the grave, and that is game, set, and match. The FIU Panthers take the win and take the tournament for themselves. Congratulations to the FIU Panthers, but the battle in the Collegiate Rivals Series is just getting started. Registration for the league's fall split is now open and runs until September 28th. On the line there will be an absolutely massive $2,500 prize pool, making it among the biggest of all community tournament prizes thus far. For all things Collegiate Rivals, be sure to check out their website at collegiatemarvelrivals.com. Well, that's all for this week's Rivals Report. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on the latest in Rivals Esports. And be sure to follow me on other platforms including Twitch, X, and TikTok. And if you're looking to break into Rivals Esports yourself, look no further than Engage. They're an organization that looks to empower esports players through event hosting and production. They're also the minds behind some Rivals community tournaments like the Chronovium Cup and the Rivals Grassroots Weekly. For all things Engage, keep it tuned to their website at engage.gg. I've been Diatonic, you've been amazing, and I'll see you in game.